Hello, everybody, and welcome to TV Shows Revisited, the spiritual successor to Quantum Leap Revisited. And on this show today, we're going to be talking about the second part of Star Trek The Next Generation pilot, which is Encounter at Farpoint, Part 2. Uh, yeah, how's it going, Script? This is Script Doctor. He's here.
Hey guys. Hey, it's going pretty well. I am incredibly tired, but I'm trying to make sure I have the energy to get through today because not only is it a great fun latter half of the episode that we'll be covering, it's one of the coolest Star Trek series out there. So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
As opposed to some other Star Trek that's being shown these days, this is actually good Star Trek.
Yes, I would even argue that the first and second season is still really good. I actually defended it before there was even the current version of Trek since 2016.
You know, the series gets better, but I think that, and this is something that I'm not. Just because I didn't introduce you properly, Script Doctor, of course, is the host of Scripts on Saturdays, show that he does every Saturday at 7 p.m. In addition to that, on his own channel, in addition to that, he's a veteran screenwriter. He has his own Patreon where he teaches screenwriting. So, although I don't have the kind of experience with screenwriter that Script has, I have studied screenwriting in the past and even film. So, I think that people like us, although you probably more than me, but people like us can look at a show like this and understand that launching a pilot for a show like this is a big deal and it's not easy to do. It's the type of world building and things you have to do that it's very difficult to get it right. And we see this early episode and maybe even the first season or two of Star Trek The Next Generation. And we definitely see things that they corrected later or refined. But I think that the foundation, in spite of what people sometimes complain, just like you said, I still think the foundation is strong. And much like you said, I felt that way before I saw, let's say, Starfleet Academy. I've always felt that they knew which characters they needed. They knew what they wanted them to do. It's just that they didn't have the flow yet of how it all the pieces work together. And the first season or two, you kind of see them in the process of trial and error, kind of figuring out how it all works together.
Yeah, to a point, because I would say this: the first two seasons are the most Star Trekky of the Next Generation because they focus primarily on what the original series focused on. They go to a strange new world, they see a problem, they address it within the confines of their own limitations, and then they move on. Once you get to season three, it becomes less about seeing and visiting new, strange new worlds, and it's more character driven. It's got more galactic politics. It's it's a little less about the exploration of strange new worlds and new species and more about the exploration of the human condition more directly, whereas the original series was a more indirect way of exploring the human condition. And it allowed Star Trek The Next Generation to distinguish itself from traditional Star Trek, but it also kind of planted the seeds for a big issue that the Rick Berman era of Star Trek had to face, which is they started shrinking the galaxy and the galactic politics of things. Because when you get into Deep Space Nine, which is like Gunsmoke, which is another influence from Star Trek, it's all about the Alpha Quadrant and parts of the Beta Quadrant, and then the Gamma Quadrant, and a big war over that. And then you have Voyager, which is the exploration of the Delta Quadrant, and you kind of have shrunk this galaxy that was introduced in the first season as only having been less than 10% charted into something where a handful of species control the entire fate of two quadrants and they fight over another quadrant, and that quadrant is completely controlled by another all-powerful species, and you end up restricting what you can explore because you've already established, oh yes, the Alpha Quadrant, well, that's mostly Cardassian and a little bit of humans, even though we're more in the Beta Quadrant, um and then Klingons and Romulans and Vulcans, and there and Ferengi, and there's not really much else out there, and they're pretty much subtly establishing that, yeah, this is pretty much it as it comes to like the major players in Star Trek. And I always felt that was a little bit of of
Let down.
yeah, pretty much of a letdown. And even though Deep Space Nine is probably one of my favorite Star Trek shows, it pretty much let down. And then when you get to the feature films of the Next Generation, and the last one is Nemesis, where they essentially say, yeah, Romulus and the Federation are going to become allies at the end. You've now circumvented the greatest antagonist within Star Trek, and there's nothing left to supplant it, and nothing that you could foreseeably believe could supplant it, because you've now allied the Klingons, the Cardassians, and the Romulans, the three great species of awesome antagonists, all with the Federation. And already at this point, have established there's no other greater power or society out there to be an antagonist
It's kind of
come in
like
next. And
it's
you've now shrunk your potential as a show.
it's kind of like when they made Tom and Jerry friends.
Yeah. If you think about it, yes. Um, and and then you have something like the Borg, which they stray further and further away from what they initially were, and then become so overused to the point where it's hard to even think of them as a threat because they've been defeated every single time.
It's
So
true.
yeah,
I think
I would say like they did great with capturing spirit and interesting characters and other interesting problems within the ship and the crew itself. But I do miss that going to a brand new planet, seeing a new society, studying it, getting either partially exposed or pulled into that society's conflict, and finding the most diplomatic and kind of almost like a Mission Impossible sort of situation, a way to kind of get out of it or help nudge towards a solution without it looking like they're doing massive levels of interference.
I think one of the biggest issues is that A, what you said happened, and B, there's no more good writers working on Star Trek. So let's say if it was a good writing team, they could think of the new Borg, meaning somebody sat there and thought of the Borg, so another threat. But the kind of people that are working on Star Trek today couldn't think of a new threat that was worthy of anything if their lives depended on it. So that's why they've already kind of spoiled what happened in the past. This new team of writers ruined it even more, like destroyed even the things that were good, and then nobody can create anything new, and
True.
the
And
franchise feels stuck.
well, one of the things that the new writing team, the new direction of Star Trek did was prove a point that I had made years ago that you should never do, which is they kept on arguing, take it further into the future. What's next? And I would say, no, don't take it further in the future. Explore other aspects of time and the generations within the Federation, because there's a massive amount of space that hasn't been explored. Just give us a ship in another era. It could still be TOS era, it could be TNG era, it could be in between TOS and TNG, and show us their explorations and their stories. And they just don't have to be galactically huge, like Deep Space Nine's was, because it's not about where the state of the galaxy is in the Star Trek universe. It's about exploring strange new worlds and seeking out new civilizations. So that is where your creative effort goes. And what happened? Well, you have Star Trek Discovery, which took the first part of the idea, but went prior to TOS and completely abandoned what it was supposed to be. And then they jumped them 1,000 years into the future. To which I say, well, see, now you've proven my point why you don't do this, because now you've gone 1,000 years in the future. You have no way of interpreting or exploring what 1,000 years uh, after the Kirk era would look like. And you're not really using a frame of reference of what's the difference between society of Earth from today to 1,000 years prior, and looking at a way of how could you parallel that to make it feasible to see a form of technological evolution, a form of societal evolution, or de-evolution, depending on the current states of those things. And then what you end up doing is, instead of having a show that explores strange new worlds, you lean really hard into the revamp of what Next Generation did, which is you lean heavily into the characters, But whereas the characters of Star Trek: The Next Generation still follow the philosophy of Gene Roddenberry, which is in the future, humanity has overcome the pettiness of what causes all of our strife on Earth. And now they're very competent people. And while they do have a difference of opinions and difference of conflicts, it's not pettiness. It's not, oh, why do you get to wear a shirt that is better fitted to you or tailored to you and I don't? That type of stuff doesn't exist. It's more like, oh, so you come from this part of the society within the Federation. You have this type of point of view. It does overlap with the values of the Federation, but it's a slightly different approach. Why is your approach better? Why is it worse? What's the debate behind it? And then they kind of work towards that problem. Or when they encounter a new species that has a society with very strange rules that might violate certain ethical codes within the Federation, and this planet is petitioning for the Federation, they try to understand the perspective of that and then weigh the pros and cons of should this planet join, should this planet maybe not, and they have those types of stories, but they're far more nuanced than they would be that we'd see today, which is, oh, you're a species, you do this. Well, you don't violate any of our rules, so I'll bring you in, and then you find out that yeah, we're in a famine right now. We lied to you, but we want food, and we think that because we're partners of this new federation, you owe us this food,
But
and now you've got like a weird hostage situation or something. I'm just kind of playing or spitballing an idea that fits the themes of what has been done in the Kurtzman era Trek, but not actually have been done yet.
But I wanted to say that you were talking about different times that could be explored. I know a lot of people didn't necessarily like this show. I enjoyed Star Trek Enterprise. I like all the other Star Treks. Maybe it took some time to find its footing, and I feel like when it was really riding that wave, they just came and canceled it. But I liked what it was trying to do, and I agree with you that generally there were a lot of different times that could be explored. To go 1,000 years into the future is dumb, but nothing we can do about that. We will try to jump in here. For those who were here last week, we did the first part of the pilot episode or the first episode of Star Trek, The Next Generation, and now we're in the second part. Where I think that this is where the episode ended with McCoy's cameo. That was pretty much the end of it, and I think that now this is part two. I think, right? Script.
Yep, sorry, I'm here. I don't know what happened. My mic just went off.
It's
Um,
okay.
but yes, this is the Candio. This is the send off. This is where McCoy says, you treat the ship like the lovely lady she is, and she will get you home safe. And it's a nice little nod to the fact that in Star Trek the ship is also a character of sorts.
And the one thing I'll say is, as opposed to what we saw in later years from all these kind of J.J. Abrams and Kurtzman and whatever, I think this is a respectful cameo. Either they don't keep him here for 7 hours, he walks by, he says hello, he does his thing, and he's on his way. And I think that it's just enough that you kind of smile and you're like, oh, he was here, he's gone. This is a respectful little feature, whereas I think that in modern day Trek, they never do it respectfully, in my opinion.
Well, they do what they think is respectful, but it really just comes across as like an idiot savant.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're back here on the ship, and of course, as they're now dealing with whatever issues they're dealing, Q appears on the screen. This is kind of funny because Worf wants to, you
So
know,
here's a fun fact. For the entirety of Next Generation, Next Gen did not really know what to do with Worf. His default thing was, let's shoot it. And and Picard's like, well, hold on there, Lieutenant. Let's think about this first. He was the type of guy who had to channel in like the aggressive nature of Klingons, but also the aggressive nature of humanity, which is shoot first, ask questions later. And Picard was the one who, he could go in that direction, but he was always of like, well, let's figure out what the situation is first and confirm what our situation is before we start opening fire. And a lot of people think that Picard is incredibly distinct from Kirk in that regard, but he's actually not, because the mandate for how to write Picard was basically saying we want James T. Kirk, but we want to see what James T. Kirk like is as a pushing 60-year-old captain, and that's how they wrote Picard. And there's a lot of similarities to these characters. I know so many people they conflate saying James T. Kirk, oh, he was the ladies' man. He got hooked up with a female member of the show like guest star or what have you, every episode is like, no, that's T.J. Hooker. That's when William Shatner was the cop on Earth. In the original series, I think he only kind of fell in love maybe 6 episodes out of the 78. It's pretty rare, and that's because his first love has been and always will be the Enterprise, and you can't have him compete with that too often. And the
Well,
same thing is true for Picard. He loves that ship.
he does. I will say that I do like Worf. I've never had an issue with Worf. I do like him.
Mhm.
I agree with you that initially, at least in the earlier seasons, I would give you that I think that they didn't quite know what to do with him. But over time, I do think that they found something. Even listen, there's a lot of characters on this show. It's not
7 mainly, yeah.
always it's not always easy with an ensemble cast like this and so many characters to give them all a spotlight. I also feel like sometimes with Deanna Troy, they didn't 100% know what to do.
They
Uh,
100% did not know what to do with her. Here's the way you know when a writing team doesn't know what to do with the character. They eventually give the character a kid. And they did that with Worf pretty quickly. In season 2, actually, I think they give him a kid. Or no, season 3. That is the biggest tell. Oh, there's actually more than one. The other one is they give the character like a terminal disease. That's another sign that they don't know what they're doing with that character.
we have Nick, who, as I said, he's away on some. He has some family things that he's. I don't know if I said it, but he has some family stuff that he's handling right now. But I'm still thankful that he was able to join us in the chat. He wrote, "It was super for $5 super chat. It was super important cameo because some of the original series actors were actively bad mouthing the show. I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know that there was any kind of animosity with the old cast and the new generation, next generation one. Uh, I would assume, and I'm not an expert. I'm just saying based on instinct, considering how popular they were, the original cast, seeing them try to do a new show without them and with a new cast probably annoyed them. So I assume that
Well,
they probably didn't shower it with praise at that moment in time.
I don't know about that because only complaint I know about the original, the Next Gen show from the actors is that they were jealous that that show got way more money per episode than what they got. That was it. A lot of people, like fans, were bad mouthing this show because they were expecting, they just seen a bunch of movies. The movies were a hit. They figured, okay, that cast is coming back to television. We're going to get weekly episodes with them, and that wasn't going to be the case. And fans were really upset. And this show took a good year or so to earn its place among the fans, and then it just kind of grew from there. I can't name a single actor from TOS that I can ever remember bad mouthing this show. Like Leonard Nimoy, as far as I know, didn't bad mouth it. William Shatner definitely did not bad mouth this show. Maybe it was like Walter Koenig and uh, gosh, why am I
I'm
spacing on
not
his
sure.
name?
It wasn't my chat, but maybe Nick knows, and I'd be happy to hear from him if he's in the chat. He can tell us who he was
George
referring
Takei,
to.
that's the other name. Maybe I don't know. If it was George Takei, I could believe that because George Takei is
Yeah, he's
he's a
opinionated.
little bit of a conflicting person.
Yeah, I mean, I liked him on the show, but yeah, anything when it's more him personally, he over the years has said weird things and always seems to fight with people and things like that.
Well,
But
that's because a fun fact about the original series only had 3 cast members, technically speaking. That was William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, and DeForest Kelley. Everyone else was hired as a day player. They were not official cast members, but they were hired. But it was in the 60s, and when day players, you could be almost like a regular on the show if you keep on coming back as a day player, but you'd never be signed to a contract as a main cast member. And that bothered, the rest of the cast that was brought back for the movie because they were finally elevated to a main cast member when they did Star Trek: The Motion Picture, and that was more to the fact that those 4 people were the most frequent of the day players that were brought in as part of the crew.
I see. Well, all politics aside, in this scene here, basically,
Worf
remind me.
wanted to shoot the view screen. Yes.
What'd you say?
Worf wanted to shoot the view screen. Yes.
Right, he wanted to shoot the view screen, and then he's like, "Sorry, sir, I'll do better for next time." And he's like, "Yes, you will, Lieutenant Commander Worf." And then, here he's talking to him in his
That's the ready room. This is the
Right.
first introduction of a ready room that's connected to the bridge.
Right, exactly. And then is this where he tells him he's going to take a team to be the away team and go do the thing or whatever? Oh, and then she walks in. This is interesting because until now, this is one of the only times, if not the only time, we've seen a situation where she tries to telepathically speak with Riker. The reason why it's interesting is because it's kind of established that because she's half human, she's empathic, but she's not telepathic. So this would be kind of strange, and I don't think that it happens again, from what I
Um,
recall.
so the way that it works is that, I mean, it's changed recently, but Betazoids are telepathic with each other, even if they're half human. But only when a Beta Z is intimate with a member of another species do they form a telekinetic bond or telepathic bond. And in this case here, Deanna Troi is able to communicate with Riker telepathically, and he can with her, but she has to trigger it first. He can't just, you know, think about her and she gets it from, like, down on the planet or what have you. He can do it on the ship because she's in close proximity and she picks up everybody's emotions. But with Riker, she can also pick up his thoughts if she chose.
But if she
Um,
wasn't in close proximity to him, she probably couldn't do this, correct?
yeah, like if she's anywhere on the ship, she can do it. But if she's like down on the surface of a planet, she can't really. She's Other Betazoids could do that because that is one of their cool powers that they have. Um, this is actually this relationship is a direct lift from Star Trek Phase 2, which is then incorporated into the motion picture between Ilea and Commander Decker. They just replaced the Deltan with a Betazoid, which is, again, another species that not only is telepathic, but they are incredibly sexual. But the don't confuse it with the idea of them being like promiscuous. They're not. It's just when they're intimate with someone that they choose to love, it is very, very intense and very, very alluring, which is why Deltans had to swear to celibacy to be when they're served in Starfleet, because that sexual experience could be so powerful it could drive a person mad if the relationship were not sustained.
I see. We have Dutch Gradient with a $10 super chat. Thank you very much. He says, Walter Koenig is a jerk. I've seen him at his table at 3 separate conventions. All 3 times when I greeted him and praised his acting, he looked at me like I was a bug and said, uh-huh. I do have a question though. If after the first time he did that, like, what made you wanted to test the theory twice in addition to that, and you're like, let's see if I tell him now, will he be a jerk again? And then he delivered on that again twice more.
Well, he probably just didn't believe you because he has been told for decades that he's not a very good actor, and his Russian interpretation was relatively insulting to Russians. So I don't know if he was able to take you honestly, uh, or if he thought that you were making fun of him. I don't know, because he has been mocked. I've seen him get mocked, and he just, doesn't really retort much back. He just kind of tries to brush it off and be as professional as he can without lashing out at an individual.
I do think it's funny that I think that they hired him because he reminded them of Davy Jones.
Yes,
That's,
that was the reason
so
why.
ridiculous. Like, that's such a strange. I mean, I guess it makes sense at that moment, but it's such a strange casting decision that, like, oh, he looks like Davy Jones. Let's cast him. I don't know
Well,
why I
they
think
they
that's funny.
wanted someone a little younger to be on the bridge because, the Beatles and then later the Monkees, which was a response to the Beatles, gained some notoriety, and so season 2, they said, "Yeah, let's get, Dave Player to come in, be a bit more of the young the young strapping cadet for the girls." That's when they cast a man to bring in more women, which is how you kinda do things, with television. And didn't quite work, but it also allowed for the showrunners to take a current day enemy of the United States and show them that one day, when the politics are pushed aside, a person from a country that is currently our enemy would be considered a friend as opposed to someone to doubt and to fear.
I have another super chat from Dutch Gradient that's saying, I presumed Bad Day, Bad Flight, etc. The first 2. But it's funny, you did one, you saw it, and you saw what happened. You're like, okay, that was a bad day. Let me try it again. But then after the second time, you're like, okay, I'm going for the third one. But I do appreciate your persistence and that you still gave him a chance. It shows something positive about you. Unfortunate that he wasn't
As receptive,
nice.
yeah.
And I included his role in Babylon 5 as the evil Bester.
Oh, okay. That triggered it because Bester's, from his perspective, is not evil. He's just dedicated to his to the Psychor. Yeah.
Anyhow, so they do the thing. Now, the one thing I'll say is that Riker doesn't say anything, so you actually don't really know if he hears her or not. It could be that he's just happy to see her, no?
He's actually not happy to see her.
Or not happy to see her.
It's not so they have a complicated relationship. He served on Betazoid when she was a psychology student and she just graduated, and then he was pulled away to go to another mission, and he tried to promise her that he'd come back. But then his career kind of took off, and she technically followed him into Starfleet Academy. She graduated, got an assignment, and only through happenstance did she end up serving on the same ship as him. And he he he's a reminder of what he really wanted, but thought he had to give up in order to pursue his goals to become a captain by the age of 35. That's been Riker's goal all the way through. And a fun fact: even when they were doing the show, the team, the writing team, only thought they were going to have Jean-Luc Picard for maybe 2 seasons, possibly 4. They didn't know if Patrick Stewart was going to stay along, and their entire goal was like, okay, well, if he decides to leave, we'll just promote Riker to be captain, and then that will align with his goals and everything. But then Patrick Stewart decided to stay, and Jonathan Frakes did not had no problem with any of this. He was just happy to work. But then they do later on in I think season 4 or 5, they do a story where Deanna and Riker have now kind of reestablished a friendship. And he talks about, like, why am I still here on the Enterprise? I wanted to be captain. I sacrificed us so that I could become a captain. And I'm still here as a first officer on the Enterprise. Like, what's wrong with me? and Deanna's like, you like being someplace where you feel most useful and value. And it was supposed to start off with these two in a form of conflict where she still loves him, he still loves her, but his professionalism is preventing him from having a family because up until this point, because the Galaxy class is a very new type of ship. It's the first type of ship of its type where it was designed to incorporate families into the crew. Prior to that, Starfleet was basically, if you have a family, like your family's back home on Earth or whatever colony they're on, and you visit every couple of months at best. And that's how it was. And Riker was the type of guy who didn't want to be away from his family from that. So his choice was either, if I pursue command, I can't have a family. And if I want to have a family, I'll have to leave the exploration department of Starfleet and find a posting somewhere on a planet so I could be close to them. And that was his big conflict. Deanna wasn't too happy about that. Riker wasn't too happy about that. And now he's put back together with, the woman of his dreams in a situation where now he has to question, like, the last, I think, 8 years. I think that's how long it's been since they've seen each other. Was the last 8 years worth it? and they tippy toe around that for many seasons until the movies, actually, where they get them back together.
Dutch Gradient, he responded, he said, whether Koenig likes it or not, Bester is evil. He sincerely believes the ends justify the means.
Yes, but from a perspective of an actor and playing a character from that same perspective, the best evil characters don't recognize or acknowledge that they're evil. They think they're the heroes of the story.
Well, just in this scene here, they basically, all 3 of them now go to talk to this guy, Zorn, I think his name is, right?
Yes, the administrator of Farpoint Station, yeah.
Right, so they're, like, trying to get the information out of him, but he's not being he's saying, no, everything, like, he's not being honest, but they're not 100% sure what he's not being honest about. And Deanna, basically, she says that she feels tremendous pain, but she doesn't know why. Which is interesting because you think that it's coming from him, but it's like she's supposedly is feeling pain.
She's feeling pain from some place and she can't identify it. Zorn needs this Farpoint Station because if the Federation would be leasing it, which means there's still an economy of sorts. It's just through trade. And Zorn and his planet desperately need the Federation in order to help support them economically.
And Riker desperately needs a beard. I just so difficult. The beard makes him what he needs to be. I don't know. I understand that. I think he just happened to grow it between the seasons and they kept it. But
He
that is
worked on a period piece that required him to have a beard, and he came back for rehearsals during the time that he was wrapping up production on that, and everybody said, "You know what? We like the beard. Keep the beard." And he's like, "Okay."
it gives him a really more official kind of vibe. It's there's only two beards in the history of television that I think have been, this beard and there's one other beard. Do you know what the other? You're going to laugh at me. Do you know what the other beard is?
Geordie LaForge.
Geordie LaForge has a beard.
Geordie LaForge had a beard in one season of TNG, and then later they started giving him some other facial hair afterwards, and then back and forth he'd change it up.
Right, but I when I think of Geordie LaForge, I don't necessarily think of him with a beard. I know that there was such a thing, but I don't. I'm saying like a character that didn't have a beard and then had one, and it changed everything, even
Well,
the show. You know what I mean? There's two
Frasier.
cases. What'd you say?
When he started in Cheers, he didn't have a beard for the first few seasons, and then later on he did, and then he got rid of it and got it back.
Okay, fair enough. But I think that for me, the one that I'm thinking of is, and you're going to laugh at me, Family Ties. If you watch the first season of Family Ties, the father doesn't have a beard. He looks so weird without the beard. And then in the second season, they decided to like revamp him. They like made him have this kind of beard, kind of cut his hair a bit and made him a little like more, traditional. I don't really know how to explain it.
Well,
And
he was a hippie, and what's weird is that he was a hippie without a beard, and they're like, "Well, wait a minute."
I
So they gave
believed
him a
him.
beard. Yeah.
I think that the whole vibe of him being like the more serious father, or whatever you want to call it, hippie or not hippie, the second season when you see him, that's the way he should be. I don't know how they did the first season without the beard. And with him, it was a similar situation. He was in a play that required him to have a beard, and then he came to the set, and they're like, "Wow, like keep that thing." And I honestly think, and the first season that was kind of floundering around in the ratings. I feel like in both cases, the beard was that one thing that was missing.
Yeah, well, Avery Brooks, they did the same thing because he was Hawk for a while on television. And then when he got hired for Deep Space Nine, they asked him, "Hey, could you like grow out your hair and shave your beard?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll try it. I haven't done it before." And it worked for the first little bit, but then Avery Brooks was saying, "You know what? I just don't think this works well for the character. How about I like kind of go back to what people really recognize me for?" And I think Ira Stephen Bear said, "Yeah, let's give it a shot." And then that's when Cisco grew the goatee and shaved his head and became, more that. I think they also promoted him shortly after that on the show.
Yeah, that's true. That he needed the bald head and the beard, the goatee. Absolutely needed that. Anti-derivative Jill, and it's funny because I've been trying to reach her for the past few days and I didn't hear back from her, and I had wondered if something had happened. And she just sent a message. She said, "I'm sorry, I spaced on this. I woke up sick with a fever today. I'm trying to recover quickly. Y'all can take care of that rascally Groppler Zorn." Well, I hope you feel better, Jill, and yeah, hopefully a quick recovery. And there's going to be other stuff for us to do. So hopefully, we'll see you here when you're feeling better. But thank you very much, and thank you for the super chat. So we're back here, and at this point, they're going into the holodeck. Now, this is them introducing the holodeck, right?
Yes, because Riker is looking for Data, who's the second officer. So he's directly under Riker. He's third in command. And Data, because so this is the first launched Galaxy class ship. The initial ship, Galaxy, is always a trial ship. It's not really manned as a crew until after they do this. And then there's the Yamamoto, which is the sister ship, which was launched relatively around the same time as the Enterprise. And this is the most advanced ship in the fleet, and it introduces the holodeck for the second time because it was initially introduced in the animated series of Star Trek, and this is them introducing it in live action for
live action. Yeah, I'm not really
Data's
into
here experiencing it because he's trying to. We get revealed his goal that he is trying to be human. He wants to do
Right,
more
but I
comedy.
will say this: I am not knowledgeable. I've seen the animated series before, maybe a few episodes as a kid or something, but I am not knowledgeable in what happens on that show. Really, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I should try to catch up one time, but for me, this is the real introduction of the holodeck because I look at it more like live action, and I've
Mhm.
always loved the holodeck. I think it's such a great, it's a great device that they introduced here, and
It was a
it,
brilliant way to expand doing a bottle episode on a budget because you could do local location shooting, and sometimes that can be a little cheaper depending on time of year and what you wanna get away with it, or the other part that they also used is that, um, with a holodeck episode, you can just find out, well, what's being shot on the same lot around this period where that's before that set is torn down that we could rent for cheap and do an episode there to keep our budgets under control. And a holodeck was a great way to do that because there's again on a studio lot, there's a few dozen shows being shot at the same time. And some of those standing sets might not be standing as permanently as you think, or another show will build on their second stage, a new location that won't be occupied until that show needs it, and it's just kind of eating up, space. And another show can come in and say, "Yeah, we'll have do a couple days here on this set that you built, and we'll kind of amortize it across other shows."
wait a second, wasn't really a holotech in the animated series though. It was a part of the Shore Leave Planet. No,
I'd have to go back, but there's
Y-
definitely, I mean, there's an episode where they go into a holodeck and then they convert the holodeck into a shore leave planet. I know that. I can remember that pretty vividly, but I'd have to double check on it. But I do know
um,
that the holodeck technology was introduced in the animated series first.
Hold on one second. I was just sending something. What was I going to say? So yes, we're back here. Data's here. You're right. He says like they have a conversation. He's like, well, I would give all of that up to be human. Like he really wants to be human. I think that's
Mhm.
a very interesting conversation. Great introduction to the character because this is a theme that's really going to be revisited on the show. So it's nice that from the get go they knew exactly at least the general direction of what they wanted to do with Data. And then you have Wesley here, right? Uh,
Yes.
and
Yeah, the
Wesley,
little brat that keeps getting involved with everything. Yeah.
right, and Wesley, falls into the water, and Data pulls him out,
Yeah.
and then they get back here, and he's wet. Trying to see.
Which, yeah, he technically shouldn't be. Um, so
This was well done, though. This shot,
Well, it's not even about this shot. This is a Planet Hell set. This scene is about Riker. Okay, the show is trying to establish the same type of dynamic of the original series. So Data is the Spock. He is the Spock of this show. He's going to have a
right?
friendship with the captain, and one thing that's going to go a little bit further is that the captain is also going to be trying to
This way.
mentor Data towards closer to humanity. Riker is supposed to be the McCoy in the dynamic, in which case he respects Data, but he's going to have constant conflict with him because Data is lacking emotion. However, didn't end up playing out that way. But this scene was all about it because Riker is very doubtful of an artificial being that has so many physical advantages and calculatory advantages over a human being, but is not a human being. Yet Data wins him over by saying like I'd give it all up to be human because his level of artificial intelligence is the closest to an authentic artificial intelligence because it has a want, but it doesn't have an emotional desire, which is really fascinating to explore. And I like the fact that Data was the big character that exploded out of the show.
Absolutely. So, and I like what they did with Data. I like the character. I was initially kind of skeptical about it, but I think that over time it kind of won me over. So, and
Yeah,
Wesley, yeah, it's funny because Wesley, from the first second you see him, he's annoying, and until the final scene he's on this show, he's annoying too. Like he
yeah.
never ceases to be annoying. And
But
the
yeah, he shouldn't be wet as he enters in our out of the holodeck because the water in there is a holographic projection that is altering the state temporarily for the illusion. The
right.
moment he walks through the holodeck out, it should be instantly dry.
So why didn't they do that? This is like it's a plot hole.
Well,
Ro is here, he'd
it's a
say.
little bit of a plot hole, and it's also to the fact that even in this pilot, because this pilot was DC Fontana, rewritten by Gene Roddenberry. Gene Roddenberry didn't think it all the way through. He's just like, yeah, he should still be wet there. And later on, they do another thing where Picard is hitting the chest with a snowball that leaves the holodeck, and that shouldn't happen either.
I see. Well, they did their best. In any case, he sees him here, and at this point, Wesley is like, "Oh, I want to go to the bridge. I want to go to this," and he's like, "Oh, yeah, you can't go to the bridge." And then he's like, "Oh, Jean-Luc Picard is a pain in the ass." Or I don't know what he says. Not a pain in the ass, but you know what I'm saying. Says something, and then this is them at that marketplace in the
Yeah.
Farpoint.
They're trying
Now
to
this is
investigate what's going on. Yeah.
right. This is now they're the away team now. This is not Picard is back on the ship, but they're now down
There's a
here.
guy. Oh, you moved again. There's another guy in a dress uniform.
Where is it?
Right there. Stop. See the gold guy standing behind to the camera left? Or sorry, camera right? Left.
Listen, let's put it this way.
You just cannot see this. It's like you're ignoring it. But there he is. There's the bare legs males on the left side of the frame.
Maybe he has shorts on. Maybe he has shorts on.
No, he doesn't have shorts on.
I'll put it this way. First of all, during those days, I would say
There's a
that
woman wearing the same one, and as is Diana, and then the guy's wearing the same one. It's all about comfort. He just wants some nice circulation of airflow.
he needs air down there. Yes,
Like a kilt for from the Scots.
Yeah. Let me put it this way. This was something going on with the kind of resolution you had on screens there, probably barely anybody noticed it. And even if it did, it's so kind of minor and in the background. It's not really something like obnoxious. You know what I'm saying?
Right. They don't bring attention to it. We're
Right.
bringing attention to it for fun.
We're bringing attention to it. And I am more focused on like Deanna Troy. Like I think that she is wearing very comfortable clothes.
Mm.
And then
she never gets to wear that ever again.
Right. Then she only wears like pants all the time, right?
She wears the onesie all the time.
Yeah, the onesie is weird. I like this better than the onesie personally, but anyhow, they're here, and then this is the part where she again feels the pain or whatever it is.
And as she goes through the tunnels, they start realizing something is up. There's some sort of pain. Geordi is detecting something odd because he says like these walls look like inorganic material but have organic properties.
Right. And then Picard is here, and then initially he's like, "Why is there a boy on my bridge?" He's like, "He's my son. It's Wesley." And then he's like, "Ugh." And then
Wesley. The loser kid I saw soaking wet in the holodeck.
I actually, I don't know, maybe the first time that I saw this many years ago, and even though I was young, I thought, or at least at some point early on, I thought that they were going to imply that maybe this is Jean-Luc Picard's son because of like how he sort of acted strangely around him and everything like that. It was a strange thing to think. Over the years, I've researched it, and they never intended to make this kid his son. It's just
no, he's not. He's his best friend's son. That's
right.
That's
but I thought maybe that would have been the thing where you learn that Picard maybe was naughty. But yeah, it would have been bad if they would have done that. I wouldn't have liked it. But I kind of thought maybe they were trying to cook that idea behind the scenes, but they never were. I researched, they never had a plan to do that. Nope. And I'm really happy because that would have not been good for the character.
Right. And in this case here, so Picard is supposed to be 51 years old. Beverly Crusher is 44. And here is Wesley Crusher at 15. And Jack Crusher was also supposed to be 40, would have been 44 if he was not died in duty. But, when they did Picard season 3, they changed those ages. They made Beverly Crusher closer to Picard's age. Like, I think only like 8-year difference, which I thought was silly. It's like they weren't the same age. That's the whole point of it.
Right. So, wait a second. Imagine using the holodeck after Riker.
Why?
I'm not 100% sure what's going on here. I must have missed something. In any case, they're here on the deck, and then he's like nice to him, and he lets him sit in the chair. But then he's like, oh look, there's like there's another ship. There's a ship. What does he say to him? There's something.
He's some sensors are detecting another ship or something coming through.
Right.
And
Off the
then
bridge.
he gets annoyed because he's like, "Hey, you're not supposed to be touching this. Like you can sit and look, but don't touch." And he started touching,
Right.
like a arrogant little jerk.
And he's like, and then she's like, "It's good my son noticed that there was another ship."
Yeah, like we all would have too, just it's not like he's not like he's reading, code.
Right. It's not like anything. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
very, very strange scene. In any case, is the guy in the background, is that Torres or is that somebody else?
that's somebody else. His Torres was a red shirt.
You're right. And he's gone. He's gone.
And
He
that's
was
an Asian
ice.
guy, and Torres was Latina.
I'm
Or
sorry.
Latino.
I can't see from far away, so I was looking more at the haircut, not really I can't really see any other features.
Yeah, Worf has replaced Torres right now.
Uh, okay. So now they see
Massive vessel. Yeah,
right.
they get scanned.
And they're here, and they're starting to bomb.
It's attacking the planet outside of Farpoint Station.
Right. And at this point he's like, help us, blah blah blah. And then I think that at this point, like, Riker says, "Oh, you guys go back to the ship," and she's like, "No, Inzadi, don't whatever." Like she starts saying, and he's like, "Don't." Like he looks at her and he gets annoyed, and then she leaves.
Yep, they all return to the ship. Yep, and it's Data and Riker trying to figure out what's going on. And Deanna Troi starts to help bridge the connection that whatever this ship is, it's connected to Farpoint Station.
And then Q shows up, and he's like, "Oh, now you're going to be tested." Ooh. And then he's here, and okay, so they get up. He's like, "Are you okay?" Yes. Data gets up. They get up. They're fine, and
They
they find
challenge Zorn to admit what is this, and he
right.
eventually.
And now he's like, being taken away, and at this point he's like, "See, humans are savage, just like I said they were."
And then Riker provides information, and then they kind of. Yeah, and then I don't know what this. I can't remember what the scene was. This was an out of place scene. It's supposed to.
I thought that this is the part where he's like, "Maybe you shouldn't be on this ship because of our personal relationship," and she's like, "I asked to be on this ship. You think I don't know?" Sorry, I don't know if that's what she sounded like, but you understand when I'm.
Yeah, kind of.
That was the best impressions you're gonna get. Dutch Gradient, $5. The colony administrator is played by Michael Bell, who voiced Duke in G.I. Joe. When he gets stressed out, you can hear the Duke in him. Interesting. Yeah, that's probably true. And then
so yeah, this scene kind of sticks out because I think it's supposed to come earlier.
Right. I really think that now in the middle of this crisis towards the end of the episode, this is a strange time. But
strange
whatever.
Editing, yeah.
Maybe they reshuffled the editing. I don't know. It just seems weird, but whatever. She's like, "No, I requested this assignment. You don't think I'm capable?" "Oh, your credentials are fine. That's not what I'm worried about."
It's like, I'm the man that, essentially sent your husband to die, and
Right.
I got a thing for you. And you might think that I did that intentionally, but I did not. And
a lot of layers here.
Yeah.
So here they think that they're on this ship, but again, it looks like the tunnel. So she's like, "This is again, I feel like I did in the tunnels."
Yep. And that's when they start putting pieces together, and they find Bell, and he's being tortured, and he gets killed by the alien creature. And then they realize exactly what's going on with Farpoint Station, and that this is another species. And because the planet has a great abundance of energy, but their civilization is rather antiquated, they are basically kind of starving the alien creature at Farpoint so that it can facilitate the needs of what the Bendai require. And it's really kind of horrific torture of sorts.
Yeah. And at this point, Q shows up, and he's testing them again. But this is the part where also, like, there was an earlier part that Picard was like, "Put our ship in front of their ship so we can deflect the the
energy
damage or
blast, right?
whatever it is.
Bombardment. Yeah, yeah.
Right. So he was trying to help them. Now he brings them back, and it's revealed basically that I thought this was rather interesting that the whole city that you see down there, it's sort of they captured this creature and
Mhm.
they're making it do sort of create that city for them, but it's all sort of like not real. They're just kind of, or I don't know if
It
to say it's not real, but they're manipulating that creature
Yeah,
and
so the
using
creature
it.
was injured and it kind of landed on the planet to feed off its energy. And they managed to find a way to sort of contain it and manipulate it, so that they could be of a bit more of a strategic power and influence with the Federation. And at this point here, Picard has ordered Zorn to have the Farpoint station completely evacuated, and then he decides to use the power of the Enterprise to transfer energy to the creature to heal it, and then it metamorphoses into the giant jellyfish thing, and then this flying saucer we see also morphs into the giant jellyfish thing.
He's like, yes, energize. And then this is the part, and then the creature comes out, and then this creature is here, that creature is there, and now you have
And
them in
you'll
they're
notice that the one creature is blue and the other one's pink, so they have genders, and you find out that they are mates.
right. I kind of like this.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece. And then they just kind of go off. And of course, Deanna Troy's crying in tears of joy because it's love.
It's love. He's like, gratitude and happiness, Captain, gratitude and happiness, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then he's like, here, we proved it to you. Now get off my ship. And then
Q says, well, this was just one test. The trial, the verdict has not ended. And then he leaves.
right. And
then we get the synthesized version of Star Trek theme, which they've quickly abandoned next episode. And then he's like, okay, set a course. Let's see what's out there. We're on our next mission.
engage. And then it ends.
Yep.
You know what though? It is a fine pilot. It is a fine pilot. Considering what they had to accomplish here, in my opinion at least, I think that this pilot episode gets a lot of things right. You could argue that it's not fine-tuned some of the ideas. This pilot, if they had to make an episode like this a few years later, it would have been more polished, but you have to start somewhere. If you don't initially say this is my show, if you don't have the characters, if you don't have the ship, if you don't have the ideas and just get things in motion, you're not going to get anywhere. Almost every show needs a little bit of time to find its footing. And what's nice is, and I think that this is something that's interesting, these days you don't have shows that get a lot of chances to find their footing. I think people these days, it's not like it used to be in the past where shows got more time and more time to kind of refine these things. And a lot of times networks would just say, I'm going to give it another chance. I'm going to give it another season because I believe in the show. You don't really have a lot of that kind of stuff today. And at the same time, sadly, you have also writers and directors and producers who suck. So
Well, it's a time is money thing because you don't have, there's so much competition now compared to what television was up until the turn of the century that you just do not have the time to figure out the show if there's a great concept to it, but it's just not hitting its stride just yet. You don't have the time to try and figure that out and get it going because episodes are usually shot between 8 and 15 weeks before they air, usually, traditionally, which means that your first 8 episodes, or the first 9 episodes at the very least, will have been completed and in the can, ready to air before you hear the first feedback of the first episode. And from audience feedback of that first episode, again, you don't give the audience what they want. You figure out from their comments what is it that they're needing, like with the note beneath the note, so to speak, like a real version of that. Whereas a manager or agent will say that because they just don't know what to say. You're looking at what the audience is saying is like, oh, I like this character. I don't like this character. I thought this thing was stupid. I didn't understand this part. And it's not so much to say, okay, we're going to bend our will to the audience. It's like, well, okay, well, what are they what is the subtext of what they're asking for? What is the subtext of their commentary? How can we exceed the expectations based on that? Because that's what it's about, exceeding expectations, not subverting and not being a made to order. If you want made to order content, you've got AI for that. If you want to be surprised and shown something with depth and meaning, you have to have real human beings listening to what the commentary is on the show and finding ways to exceed those expectations in order to deliver something great and entertaining for the audience. And it takes a while to do that, because especially pre-internet, because you have to go by word of mouth commentary. You have to go by the trades and the entertainment television shows talking to general audiences about their responses to the new show on the air, like they were doing the market research. Then you also have the normal marketing committee that's going out to shopping malls and community centers and asking questions about various shows that that particular network has debuted and finding out their input on that and bringing all of that information to the production to try and see, like, are we in the right direction? Do we need to make an adjustment here and there? What is it we're going to do? But now that streaming has been a dominant part and the new model has been like, well, we're going to shoot an entire season before we drop it, you
Yeah,
now
somebody
are
says that
stuck.
here.
You are now stuck with whatever that season is. And then on top of that, the production goes, okay, what is the audience response? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it charting or is it not? Okay, well, if we're not making any money off of it through a licensing deal, then we'll cut ties. And if we are, well, then we'll try and figure out what we can do for the second season. But you have such a massive gap, like almost a year between seasons, as opposed to just 4 months, that it no longer becomes subject of typical water cooler talk. And now you have to kind of essentially you're debuting the same show as if it's a brand new show again, with the same competition and the same difficulty of making a mark compared to building a growing audience. Like that's one of the biggest hangups of a shorter season and then dumping it all out all at once, or even doing a shorter season and dumping it week by week. Because even if you have 10 episodes, well, that's 10 weeks out of the year, which means you've got 42 weeks before your next season. 42 weeks is a long time to wait for a television show.
We have a few super chats. One I missed, and I'm sorry about that, Dutch Gradient. While we were talking, and you said something about the Galaxy. He says the USS Galaxy was the first of that class.
That's right. So in Star Trek canon, the O1 of any new ship design is going to be the class of the design. So gosh, it wasn't the 1701, was the because again the Enterprise is 1701D. That's because its registry is the Enterprise, but the Galaxy is like either a 5 or a 6 digit code that ends with 01, and that's the Galaxy class. And then the Yamato is also the same thing. It's like a 6 digit serial number, and I think it's like an 02 or 03. And then, like, for instance, you also have the USS Intrepid. So that would be the Voyager ship, but it's the first one of that was, of course, the Intrepid class. The Constitution was the 1700. So that's the first one of that. So sorry, yeah, Galaxy is a 00. And then everyone after that is the subsequent title. If it's a brand new name, it's going to be its registration code with 01, 02, or 3 towards the end of it.
Then we have Jason Webster with $5, says stark difference in quality between Kurtzman Trek and Star Trek: The Next Generation. The latter makes sense, while the former doesn't, even if you're high. There is so much wrong with that Kurtzman Trek. There's so much wrong with it, and you'd think after so many years of misfires, maybe accidentally at the end he'd get better at it, but he seems to just get worse. And when you look one day back at some of these franchises and how they were so badly handled, there aren't, unfortunately, I want to say that there aren't many other cases that are like Kurtzman's, but I think that Star Wars and Doctor Who could give that guy a run for his money, even though he's really, really bad. He is really, really bad at it.
I would say probably Doctor Who is worse. Because they've abandoned so much of what Doctor Who was. Kurtzman Trek, there's a veneer of Trek over top of the other shows that they're doing, and that veneer is kind of rotting away, with new iterations and season by season. But again, like, there's nothing new we can really say about Kurtzman Trek. It's just getting worse and worse all the time. Like, there's nothing new you can contribute when it comes to criticism of it. Everything that's been said has been said. I'm sorry, it just has. Like yes, it can get worse, but that's the only new contribution you can say. It's worse than the previous one. Great. Like there's nothing more you can break down to it. It repeats all the mistakes. It lacks all the foresight of what a show should be doing on principle. And yeah, there's nothing more you can really add to the commentary on that, sadly. And that's just to showing that not only is Kurtzman a horrible producer, but he's also in a state of arrested development. He cannot, like, even when he gets worse, he's just doing the same mistakes over and over.
He's
at an
not
exponentially worse
talented.
level.
I'm going to tell you the truth. I think that Kurtzman is a sham. I feel like J.J. Abrams is a sham, but as much as I think that J.J. Abrams is a sham, Kurtzman is an even bigger sham. Like, Kurtzman doesn't even have the minimum, if J.J. Abrams is kind of like a used car salesman of sorts, I don't even know what to say about Alex Kurtzman.
Oh,
There is
Alex Kurtzman is the guy who knows how to make friends with very important people, and they give him a job out of pity.
And you know what? This heist, whatever he did with Star Trek, is nothing short of a heist. I don't know. You can say that they ruined Doctor Who more and Star Wars. We can argue about all of those things, but I think that when it comes to a producer and the biggest heist, in Hollywood ever, I feel like Kurtzman and Trek has to be one of the biggest heists. Like Kathleen Kennedy, I don't like anything she's done with Star Wars, and I think that it exposed that she at best could be fourth fiddle on a production full of visionaries where she does some kind of logistics and operations, but she's not a creative person.
No, she's never been a creative person,
right, and I think that that's the biggest issue with her. I also think that in the case of Star Wars, we don't have to get into in an hour. I think that George Lucas initially thought, even with the whole Disney situation, that they would still look for him for creative guidance because his ego was big, and he thought that they would still value his opinion, whereas she would sort of be a person that like just executes things, and like he didn't envision that it's going to play out the way it did. I don't think anybody ever thought that Kathleen Kennedy has the creative capability of doing that. However, if you look at her resume, however I feel about her, as fourth fiddle on productions, she could still provide a resume that she was on some productions and did something. Alex Kurtzman really is a sham from day one. Like, even the minimum whatever Kennedy has as the fourth fiddle, I don't think Alex Kurtzman has anything good to show on his resume. I've never rated him. I think nothing of him, and for him to take control of the Star Trek franchise is inconceivable, in my opinion.
Well, he got it because him and Roberta Orci were writing partners. They each had some type of skill, not anything I would say really kind of made them stand out, but they were the good company men, which meant that like whatever you asked of them, they would do, and they would do it to a quality that what met the standards of the people that asked. And they had a falling out over Star Trek. Roberta Orci was more of a fan. Kurtzman was not. Les Moonves didn't like Star Trek because it was too expensive, so he gave massive deal contracts to Bad Robot that then kind of carried over to Secret Hideout. And Secret Hideout was Kurtzman's company that he had, and Roberto Orci was kind of pushed out because he was the more Star Trek attuned person.
I will say that,
and the reason that they do that is because, again, metrics suggest that a fresh face coming into a new franchise has a better place to exceed expectations than someone that is a traditional fan, because fans, by and large, repeat what they've seen. They don't bring anything new. I'm sorry, you don't. When it comes to creativity, there are some exceptions, but again, exceptions don't mean the rule is false.
I think that in this case, judging by what I've seen from Kurtzman and what I've seen from Kennedy and what I've seen from some of the other franchises, in many cases, sometimes I agree with you. Sometimes I agree with you that you're probably right. But if I have to choose the lesser of two evils, having somebody that at least is sort of fond of the franchise versus somebody that just has contempt for it, I would take the one that's at least mildly a fan. I also think
I don't know if they have contempt for it. That's the problem. I can't prove that. You can only prove that they have incompetence with the executions. But when you pull away from the execution, you look at the core concept of the idea in question, there's nothing wrong with the idea.
I know that Orci has passed away.
Mm-hmm.
My instinct, and I don't have any way to prove it, I think that probably I don't know if to say he was a talented man, but he probably was more talented than Kurtzman. I
Yes,
suspect that of the two, I tend to think that Kurtzman. Also, there was another show that it's some other lady that did it, and he kind of like latched onto it. He's the kind of guy
Jenny
that like,
Lumet.
what'd you say?
Jenny Lumet, who is
Right.
Sidney Lumet's daughter. She's not very talented, but she's coasted on her father's reputation, made a lot of connections. Her and Kurtzman are great friends, which is why Kurtzman has the position he has in the studio system. He is best friends with a legacy there, and you don't annoy out of
Right.
courtesy the friend of a legacy.
He's a good politician. There
Mhm.
is no show. There's nothing creative this man has ever done. He basically is a good politician and latches on to people. And Star Trek really, out of all the nonsense he did, the first time that he's like, really in charge of something, that he is supposed to be the creative visionary, it's Star Trek. Absolute disaster. Rhonda Nefero for $5 says, we always learn a lot about the writing for how the writing for series is done from script. I really appreciate that. So
Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys listening to my advice and experience. It's I do appreciate that. Love sharing it with you guys.
Professor says KK is at best a logistics person. She should have never had creative input on anything. Among many things they have done, removing Kirk from all the promotions proves they have contempt for classic Trek in my mind. I agree. It's like
Well, that's
maybe
not
he
contempt. It's the politics of, oh, well, he's Kirk is a misogynist, which again shows that they didn't watch the series. I mean, again, a lot of fans of Star Trek fans, like dedicated Star Trek fans, keep conflating the idea that Kirk was this misogynistic ladies' man of the Enterprise. He's not. Go watch the 79 episodes. You can count on one hand how many actual like moments he's kissed a woman or fallen in love. Uh, like there's only one episode where he gets amnesia and he marries a Native American on a planet and he's about to have a son, but she is killed and he goes back to his ship. You have Edith Keeler, which is the other one, and then from there nothing else. Then maybe you have one which is uh oh gosh, you have this woman who is the daughter of Kodos that he kind of falls in love with, and that's pretty much it. Everything else is either his body's possessed or he's controlled by, or he is playing a game to try and save and rescue his crew, like a crew. He's not the guy that hooks up with a woman every episode. Again, that was TJ Hooker. Different character, different series, lasted longer than Star Trek.
yeah. What was I going to say? Marla
Well,
Sharandoff.
they removed him because again they conflated the idea that, oh, he's a toxic masculinity of a captain, so we're just going to take him off the series promotion, and we're gonna keep Picard and Archer and Cisco and then Janeway, and then we'll add in Burnham and then
I
Anson
think they're
Mount,
just
Pike.
stupid.
Yeah,
He's an idiot. He's an absolute idiot.
that's Paramount. That's the marketing over at current day Paramount too.
Maybe that too, but there's no way I can't blame at least a lot or most of the things that are wrong with Trek with Kurtzman. But Marla Sharandoff says you don't much like Kathleen Kennedy. There is nothing to like about her. I think that she was given a studio that had three main IPs that somebody knows what they are. She had Star Wars, which is the main, like the biggest
The
one.
biggest one, Indiana Jones and Willow.
Indiana Jones and Willow, she destroyed all three of them. There is not one tiny thing of incompetence, even a glimmer of incompetence that came from this woman. If this was any other situation, if you also look at that hotel and the thing that she insisted that on Galaxy's Edge, it would only be the new stuff, so many decisions. It's like you would be hard pressed to find one decision that this woman made that was actually good. And if it was anybody else, if this was like, you had now a clothing store and you had a manager that needed to manage and had that kind of losses to the store, not only would the store get shut down, prior to it get shutting down, you'd fire her. She wouldn't continue to
Mhm.
manage it. Only some like big multi-billion-dollar situation like that would continue to keep this lady there, pretending that she's somehow doing something good and kissing her ass and having all the media selling all this nonsense. There is nothing redeemable about her. She was good as
I
four.
can do one thing redeemable about her because she completely erased the Willow television series that she produced from canon and from history. So Willow is the only pure, untouched or better yet, restored franchise within the IP, because that Willow series on Disney Plus, you can't get it anymore. You'll never be able to see it on physical media. It'll never be redistributed unless it's done through pirate sites. It has been completely wiped and erased from the canon, and it's now essentially the only property of Lucasfilm where that movie is the movie. They haven't changed it, and they haven't followed up with anything that they have continued to support or promote.
So that's
Since then.
her big win.
That's the only win she's got.
Robot says, "Don't you dare! Kirk is a ladies' man. It's why I love him."
He's not. Facts are facts.
Listen, at least he gave the vibe. Whatever it is, it
He was a
seemed
confident, competent man who definitely knew how to seduce a woman, but he did not go after them. It was not the forefront of his mind. It was his job and duty as a captain to serve. And that's
But
what
let's put it this way: it was his job to serve. But you always had this feeling, like if maybe it's a false impression you got of him, but you got this impression that maybe when the cameras aren't rolling, Kirk is like, is pretty smooth with the ladies. Even between episodes, we don't see him. Maybe he's doing some smooth stuff with the ladies. That's what I thought as a kid. I could be wrong. Maybe I was wrong with my assessment. They gave us enough times where he was kind of smooth that you kind of feel like maybe he was. Do you get what I'm saying?
There's one thing with being smooth with the ladies and another thing with being promiscuous, and Kirk was not promiscuous.
I never said promiscuous. I said
again,
he looked like he was
a
ladies' man. He was a ladies' man.
But no, a ladies' man is a promiscuous man.
Oh, sorry.
Man.
He was popular with the ladies.
Not really, no.
If
he had to flirt, he had game, but he wasn't a guy who was always playing. That's the point.
No, but if he wanted to, okay, I know how to sum this up. If he wanted to get a woman, you felt that he could pull it off. At least give me that. He created the impression that right now he's on the ship and he's busy, but if he has a break and he had something else on his mind, he could pull it off. Even if he chooses not to do that, he could do it if he wanted.
Right. But he doesn't. Like, that's the thing. Like, again, on TJ Hooker, every episode he falls in love with the woman and hooks up with her, and then unfortunately it just doesn't work out. Like one of the things that's kind of interesting, they don't really elaborate it, but TJ Hooker's
says
character,
he didn't kiss and tell, and Rhonda Nefero says, sorry, script, agree to disagree. He was a ladies' man.
No, yeah, and to be a ladies' man, it has to be episodic every episode. And only in TJ Hooker is that the case, because he starts that show, he's recently divorced. He still loves his wife, and the only reason that she divorced him is because he decided to go back on the streets. And then as soon as we get past the pilot where he's dealing with his ex-wife, he is hooking up with every lady that's introduced in that episode. And Professor R2 is right. Riker was the ladies' man of the show. He was the guy.
But Matthew McGee said Captain Kirk was the man, and other people. There's a bit of pushback here, script. People
not
saying
many
that
of them. Again, 79
more than you're
episodes.
remembering. He says
79 episodes. I've done the research. 79 episodes. Only a handful of which does Kirk actually work. Have a love interest that he commits to.
Dutch Gradient also has something that he says ladies' man means a male, and this is to you, he's saying it. Ladies' man means a male character created to be attractive to the ladies. The ladies liked him. You felt that.
Yes, the ladies do like him, yes. But he's not the promiscuous type, yeah.
Do you think Sam Beckett was a ladies' man? He was kind of a ladies' man. He had like ideals and stuff, but the ladies seemed to like him. I mean, he was always trying to, in most cases, trying not to do stuff with them when he was leaping.
Yeah, but he was the type of guy who he wasn't gonna go all the way, but he'll kiss and he'll be the romantic partner up until a certain point. It was Al that kept on trying to push him to, have some fun, and Sam was very resistive of that. In fact, across that series, we counted he only hooked up with maybe 7 women in the 4 seasons.
Yeah, it wasn't a ton. It wasn't a ton.
It was almost a similar ratio to Kirk, give or take a few.
That is true.
And that's the point, right? Like, it's one thing to, like, a lot of people are just superimposing or misremembering or bleeding over the other characters of William Shatner onto Kirk, because Kirk was a very standoutish one. But Kirk was the very much classy, above board, charming captain who, when the situation called for it, he could seduce a woman to help his mission, or he could be vulnerable enough to fall in love. But the thing is, he was never the type of guy that would see a woman and be like, I am going to go and bed her today. That was TJ Hooker.
Well, Barry says Kirk was more of a charmer while Riker was a horn dog.
Right. And Kirk's charming nature was very infrequent in that system.
Professor says that any hole was Riker's goal.
Any hole was Riker's goal. Yep.
And then Matthew McGee says, Sam, don't be such a Boy Scout.
Right. Yes.
Remember in the first episode, Man Trap, Kirk expected to see an old girlfriend of McCoy's, and that's what he saw. If Kirk had been a true hound, the creature would have appeared much different.
And he would have seduced her. Yeah, but he didn't, because he's not that. Heck, he wasn't even seducing the doctor in Where No Man Has Gone Before. You know,
that is true. That is true. But I don't know. I can't explain it to you. Even before TJ Hooker and all this stuff that you're saying, I had this feeling. Maybe it's just the vibe that William Shatner during that time gave. If you compare, I know what I want to say. Look at Shatner, you know, in the run of Star Trek, of the original series.
Mm-hmm.
He was a pretty presentable dude. Okay,
yes.
More than Picard. I would even argue
yes.
more than Riker. Okay, I'd say that maybe out of all the captains that we've had to date from then until today, maybe he's the most. He's the most kind of like, looks like he would be popular with the ladies. Could be wrong on it, but that's the vibe he gives, and he's always confident, and he's always like, you know, that's why I like Captain Kirk. I don't know. I don't need him.
You're describing as the natural male charm of your average Canadian.
Perhaps that's what. I don't know if today they're as charming, but
well, I mean, you got Nathan Fillion. Women love him. You know, you got you know, I'm not a big fan of Ryan Reynolds, but he definitely has a charm to him. Gets out there. Same thing with Ryan Gosling. You know, there's a pattern you see.
Ron Donofrio says script missed a number of Kirk's women. The lawyer that prosecuted him, the woman in Alice in Wonderland one, the girl one where they were wiping minds.
I mean, 3 out of 79, and then that's not including Edith Keeler, or when or the oh gosh, the one with Kodos, the murderer who was on the colony. He kind of nearly falls in love with his daughter and finds out that she's you know, the one really committing these atrocity, these murders.
Wait a second. Let's see for a second. Julie Evans says, I love that Sam was a Boy Scout. Yeah, it was nice about his character. Jason Webster with a super chat, $5. Again, thank you so much, Jason. Captain Kirk was charismatic and confident in his own abilities and capabilities.
Oh, yeah. Like he invented the game of Fizbin. Like right there at that moment. Like you need to be a charming and brilliant man in order to do that.
Professor R2 says Jim Kirk, quote unquote, Jim Kirk is many things, but he was never a Boy Scout.
No. Well, he was never the innocence of a Boy Scout, but he had all of the preparedness, the knowledge and understanding of a Boy Scout. And that's the other part you have to kind of remember. It's also a fun little parallel because in pop culture, Superman is referred to as a Boy Scout, but Batman is the one that's always prepared. And that's a big aspect of what it is to be a Boy Scout. Always be prepared. And Kirk was one of the guys he was very, very prepared. And when he was ever caught off guard, he would use his wits and his understanding and his training as a Starfleet officer to do everything in his power to save his crew, his ship, and complete the mission without violating his own ethics.
Malachi D. Wildman says Alum of Troyes seduced him.
Tried to seduce him. Didn't work because he was already in love with the Enterprise. And that's her trying to seduce him, not him seducing her.
Rondon Farrow says that doesn't count. Chemical attraction.
That's right, Ron.
Marlo Sharondoff says Sam's a Boy Scout and it's part of his charm. Yep. And the final thing, I don't know, because I saw Marlo Sharondoff. I don't know why I'm mentioning this quickly. I just want to say this because I just thought of it now and I want to get that one sentence in there. Initially, when they said that Kathleen Kennedy was going to be the president of Lucasfilm, I didn't think anything bad. I thought, okay, well, she did work many years with all those people. I didn't really know to what extent. I didn't know how miserable she was at the creative side. But you'd think that somebody with so many years of experience, if nothing else, could maybe bring the right people around her. I wasn't aware of just how clueless and how, like, out of place she was in this role. I didn't realize it until a later point. But initially, I don't know. I mean, her resume suggested that she was fine. I wouldn't have
Her
known.
resume is impeccable. She's made thousands of careers in Hollywood. She started off as a camera operator, and she's a really good camera operator. She knows how to frame a shot like really well. Like there's a reason she got on the radar of Steven Spielberg um, and her husband Frank Marshall. It wasn't fully for her looks, so 'cause she's modestly attractive. Come on, let's be honest here. She's also a twin. But in addition to that, no, she's a really good problem solver. She knew how to frame questions properly in order to get what was needed. Again, in the early years of Spielberg, when he became a huge name, any time a production was leaked publicly outside of Hollywood that Spielberg was involved with it, prices went up. And her biggest accomplishment was being able to get around that by not letting people know that she or the production she was calling on behalf was a Steven Spielberg production, so that they could get permission and permits and access to things at
Right,
an affordable
logistics.
rate. She's
She
a
was a
very
great
good
logistics person.
and she knew how to solve problems with between
Right.
actors as well. Like if there was an issue between two actors, she knew how to get in there and solve that problem. That was her skill set. When she was
That's
announced as
not.
hold on, when she
It's not a bad
right,
skill set
right.
to have. It's just not right to run Lucasfilm.
Well, here's the first red flag that I noticed. When she was announced as president of Lucasfilm, and I was asking, well, what the heck happened to Rick Berman? Because Rick Berman was the number two at Lucasfilm under George Lucas. He was the key producer. He produced the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. He produced the prequel trilogy. Why did he leave? And that's a question that is yet to be answered. And I think it goes to something like I have my own conspiracy. And my conspiracy was that Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger were good friends for a very long time. Bob Iger has always wanted to own Star Wars and the Lucasfilm properties. And I think Kathleen Kennedy used her connections with Bob Iger and her connections to George Lucas through Frank Marshall and Steven Spielberg to convince George to sell Lucasfilm to Disney because none of George's children were interested in running a studio, like a small studio that Lucasfilm was. And he didn't know who to hand it off to that would maintain his legacy. And I think Kathleen Kennedy really wanted to have the prestige of being a studio head, even if it was a small studio and one that she didn't have to build a reputation around herself. And I think that that's the deal she made because the instant she was appointed as president prior to the sale came almost right on the heels of that. And then what happens is, well, as part of the sale, instead of having a brand new president, which normally studios, when they buy another smaller studio or a production company, they completely clean house and put in their own people. Instead, Bob Iger's like, nope, we're going to keep Kathleen Kennedy along.
I think that there's another angle here that probably uh, Kathleen Kennedy, as part of this whole maneuver of bringing Bob Iger in and also putting her in the position she wanted to be, I think part of it is that she tried to sell George on the idea that his input would still be really important. Even in those interviews that initially, when they do the interviews, she's like, "Oh, like we want to do it with George, and George had so many ideas and this and that." I think that she really sold him. In order for him to sell it, she probably said, "Listen, George, you don't have children who want to do this. You're not getting any younger. We're going to bring Bob here. Everybody loves you. You're the best. You're George Lucas. What are we going to do without you? You're George Lucas." And he probably sat there and said, "Oh yeah, I'm George Lucas." So he came, he signed the bottom line, took the $4 billion, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm George Lucas. Here's my idea for the," and they said, "Yeah, so we'll see you later." And that's why he then said, "Oh, it's like the white slave or whatever it is that he said."
Mm-hmm.
The reason that he said it is that I feel, you can tell me whatever you want, but I feel like he expected something different
Oh yeah, he
from
totally
Disney
did.
and from Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy, in a way, I feel like she brought Iger in, she got rid of Berman, put herself. She may not be a good producer of Star Wars. She has no vision and no creativity, but politician. I don't think she's a bad politician. She's managed to stay in that role until today. Every
Mm-hmm.
time there was a failure, she had all the press right, all the crap. She had everybody protecting her. She's an amazing politician. She just couldn't produce a good Star Wars or do anything creative if her whole life depended on it, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
She was not the creative producer. And here's the other thing that's of interesting note. Um, she chose to leave on her own accord, and then shortly after, Bob Iger decides to step down as president of Disney. Interesting, right? Parallels that we see here.
Yeah, maybe he's been protecting her all along, and now,
Well,
like, you know,
he doesn't need to protect her. Again, she's made thousands of careers in Hollywood. Those thousands of people are more than happy to protect her as a thank you for them having a career.
I
Remember,
understand.
like, it comes again, it's professional courtesy. Like, whoever helps you get your shot, you owe them because it is incredibly difficult to get into this industry. I have, good friends who helped me along the way. And yeah, even if they make a horrible decision, out of professional courtesy, I will give them a benefit of a doubt to make something good, but I'm not ever going to, betray them or put my back against them unless I find out that they did a horrendous crime, because then that's a betrayal of my trust to them. But, like, if they, swing for the fences and they fail, it's like, yeah, we all listen, Hollywood is full of more failures than successes. It's a 90-10 rule. Take a look at the entire archive of film history. It's close to 1,000,000 movies just in the Western civilization. You'd be hard pressed to find more than 10% of them good, and that's over the last 120 years of film.
I just want to look at this super chat here. Dutch Gradient, $20. Thank you so much. Oh, script dang. On my honor, I will do my best to my duty to God and my country and to obey the scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
That's the United States oath of the Scouts. Yes.
And then you have, I think we read this one, but Jason Webster said for $5. I think
Mhm.
I read it. Captain
You
Kirk was
did.
charismatic and confident, his own abilities and capabilities. I totally agree. Uh, I agree with a lot of things that were said here, and yeah. So what can we do? At the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is back to Trek and Kurtzman is that as much, and trust me, I have nothing good. I have nothing good to say about Kathleen Kennedy because I don't care about all of her previous work. I only care about the fact when I think about her and how much she destroyed Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Willow, like you said, it's not as much of a big deal. It never had Val Kilmer in it, anyways.
Right.
So it was just yeah, it did have Warwick Davis, and it's a shame that they ruined his thing, but it came and went so quickly and disappeared that, like you said, you
They
barely
deleted
even
it from canon. It's the one thing that they wanted Disney to do with Star Wars and Indiana Jones. They did it with Willow. They said,
right.
"Yep, this is not canon. We deleted it. It's gone. It's Highlander 2. It doesn't count."
Right, but the thing with Alex Kurtzman is that he doesn't even have a situation that I could say, well, he did work on ET. Well, he did work on Indiana Jones.
No,
He
he's got
is
his Transformers, Star Trek, The Island he wrote, and then he had to pay because he stole that idea and a lot of the original script from another person. He had to pay that person out in a settled out of court case.
That's
Yeah,
exactly who he is. He's just some shyster. You know what I mean?
yeah.
He's like he is a slippery, in my opinion. Of course, this is just here at Price of Reason Studios. I take no responsibility. I'm just sharing my opinion. In my opinion, he's a shyster. I have nothing good to say about him. I don't think he's ever done anything good. And yes, if I had to compare resumes, Kathleen Kennedy's resumes is better than Alex Kurtzman. Although at the end of the day, she ruined those franchises. He ruined this one. But I guess if I had to do a competition of who's even more incompetent or whatever it is, I guess I would have to give that prize to Kurtzman.
Mm-hmm. He's definitely up there.
I mean, this is a tough race. You know what I mean? To do like Kurtzman versus Kennedy, that is a tough race.
Well, the thing is that Kennedy has left that portion of the franchise. Kurtzman is going to be around. So far, there's no confirmed action of what the future of Star Trek will be. So yeah, as far as we know, he's still going to be with his again. The license of Star Trek is split into 3 tiers. There's the original license, which started with Desilu Productions in 1966 and ended in 2005. Then there's the split license that is of J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot, and then there's the other part of the split license, which is Alex Kurtzman and Secret Hideout. And all 3 of them are considered distinct in the eyes of the law, even though they're under the same umbrella brand of Star Trek.
Yep. What was I going to say? Let me look for a second. Professor Artu says the Clonus horror ripped off entirely to make the island.
That's right.
Yeah. What can we do? Oh, how did we get to all these? Let's sum up the Next Generation pilot and in general. What did you think of it?
Serviceable. They're. I mean, again, pilots are rarely the best show of a series, and if it is the best show of the series, that's a bad thing because now your series is only on the decline. um, but no, this was a serviceable pilot. Did what it needed to do, and the series only got better after this pilot, which is the thing you want. Uh, it was funny because some actors they look at pilots and like, wow, that was the best show we ever did. It's like, well, that's sad because the pilot's never supposed to be the best show you ever did. Your series finale is technically supposed to be the best show you ever did.
Right. Yeah, I mean, listen, I look at things the way you just said it. It's not easy doing a pilot, and to begin with. I will even say this. This is a strange thing for me to say, but I'll tell you this. I've been involved in writing 2 pilots. One of them, uh, like I think a vice president, it was of a recognizable network. It wasn't it wasn't like one of those. How do I call it? The ABC, CBS. It wasn't like
A
one of the.
network pilot?
Yeah, it wasn't a network. It was like a cable network pilot.
Oh, a cable channel. Yeah.
Yes, a cable channel. So the vice president of that cable channel read it, uh, actually had a conversation with me. Didn't seem to hate it. Didn't get made, but but I will say this: even just trying to come up with something like to do a pilot, it's not easy work. You don't know where everything is going to go. You also you have in addition to the screenplay, at least I did. I'm sure other people do this. There's other paperwork I had where like I was explaining what each character, what we can expect from them. I even had additional documents like giving me sort of an idea of where I see like more stuff happening during the season.
So a show Bible. You had a show
Yeah,
Bible.
exactly, exactly. I had more things in addition to the script that I submitted. I thought that it was somewhat decent. There was even person that would have been relevant to that network and show tied and attached to the show, and that person wanted to do the show. So I had some things working for me. Pilot never got made, but at least I can say that I sat and wrote it. And man, it's not easy to write a pilot. And let me tell you something. As much as I felt that it wasn't easy to write that random show that I wrote, that didn't get picked up, I will say that writing a pilot for Star Trek is so much more difficult. To
Yeah.
try to, and also the responsibility, the weight and the responsibility of doing something additional, another entry into a franchise that's so popular and already was there for decades and was only like building up in popularity. To do that is such a difficult feat. And overall, when I look at that and I look at the work that was done here, I have a lot of appreciation for it.
Well, I mean, you have a legendary writer in DC Fontana, so that helps a lot. You again, you also had science fiction writers that were not just strictly screenwriters, and fantasy writers that were not strictly screenwriters. They were also like novelists, and they did pocketbooks and other projects, and they were also brought in to contribute to the show. So you had good stock of people to draw from. We are
Well,
plagued in the current generation where majority of the writers grew up watching television instead of reading books, and they latched onto certain styles that were popular within the decade of their formative years and repeat that. And as a result, our culture has been pretty stagnant because of it, because every generation has something distinct about it that they try to uh, put forth in the works of that in their creative works to kind of amplify that culture, to give it a distinction. Each decade has a distinction until we crossed into the 20th century, in which case the last two and a half decades have been a watered down derivative of the 90s or inversion of that.
we have to I just noticed the time and people are asking what are we doing next week. Next week we are doing Deep Space Nine, the first the pilot episode. So Deep Space Nine pilot, you all listen here. It's going to be Deep Space Nine pilot episode. Hope everybody's ready for this. It's Deep Space Nine, right? We did TNG. The next one is DS9, so that's the one we're going to do. So yeah, so everybody, Rhonda Nefero, Mary, Deep Space Nine, that's the one. Fruit DS9? Oh no, why? What's wrong with DS9?
I don't know.
I like DS9. Jason Webster, even if you like it or don't like it, I think we're going to have a very interesting conversation about the pilot. So I recommend anybody here. Professor says he'll be here. Uh, Jason Webster for $10. Thank you so much. Sums up stupidity of the makers of Dial of Destiny. They hired Anthony and Gruber, a dead ringer for young Harrison Ford for the opening train sequence, and still use de aging of Harrison Ford. What the fuck? That is weird. I don't know why that he is really good. Did they really hire him? And that is very weird.
That's a Harrison Ford thing. Harrison Ford says he only ever wants to be the person to play Indiana Jones. He doesn't like it. I mean, one of the things that he reluctantly agreed upon was young Indiana Jones, where he's like, okay, if you're going to do an 8-year-old kid, I can't play an 8-year-old kid. It's fine. But yeah, he was not too happy with other people playing Indiana
I'm going to
Jones.
quickly read the shout outs. First of all, subscribe to Script. Mary just shared his channel. You should subscribe.
Thank you.
Every Saturday, 7 p.m. Scripts on Saturdays. That's his show. Then you have shout outs part one: Rhonda Nefero, Roe, Matthew McGee, Kit Kat, Zunner J5, Dutch Gradient. Thank you for the super chats. Please join us for do B5 instead. We'll get to everything. You know, every week we do something else, but I hope you do join us for DS9. We're doing a bit of Star Trek now, you know, touching upon these shows because you know, we have Star Trek now that's not very good coming out, and we want to really celebrate something that is good. I understand you may not like DS9, but I still welcome you to join our discussion. You could tell us what you didn't like about it. We're always happy to hear other opinions. Shoutouts part one: Rhonda Nefero, I said all this, Dutch Gradient, Georges Rex, Marla Sharondoff, Tomahawk 511, Backyard TARDIS, Muroxtra, Julie Evans, Phantom Outsider. Shoutouts part two: Malachi D. Wildman, Barry F7253, Professor R2, Jay Gee, Anti-Derivative Jill, which I hope she feels better, Scribe Light, friend of the channel, Commenting is Dangerous, Jason Webster, thank you for the super chats. Thank you also Dutch Gradient for the super chat. And there were
James K667Y, Robot Head, and FKHC 2005.
Right. Oh, I was going to say just also Backyard TARDIS did a super chat, and Jill did, and a few people. Thank you. I hope I didn't miss anybody, but thank you so much to everybody. It's been great. I'm going to play our intro, and then if you happen to be here, this stream, I think, should carry you over to the Night Owl, which starts with me and Professor R2 very shortly. Thank you for being here, Script, as always, and we'll see you all here next week.
Take care, guys.
I'm such an awesome guy.